That's what I should do. One moment.
Ha 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 ha.
Sweet
Hey,
bass.
Kenny's back. Welcome back, Kenny. It's time to get started. Yo, what's up, y'all?
What it do?
Did you hit the button to start the stream before you left?
Yeah.
God damn it, Kenny.
Yeah, all that was on. I told you.
I would have plugged in my John if I knew we was live. You just hear this little snapping and popping, little clicks and clacks. There's nothing there. That ain't funky. Yeah. How you doing, Kenny?
Well, I was doing good. Lenny Fitness is booing my T-shirt. It is a Nashville Creds shirt, Smashville. All right, got to rep the home team. We have tied the series 2-2 for the folks that like sports puck as opposed to sports ball. And so I take offense to that, Mr. Johnson.
Smashville.
The
Nice.
pens, but you're not even okay. Anyway, but otherwise doing pretty well. I did not get the game. Well, you know what though? Did I tell you I got quite the haul? I need to send a photo. I went to a game store.
What?
And I know it's like go to a game store. And you don't tend to, unless it's like a real high-end collector shop, you don't tend to see Sega Saturn games and in their cases.
Oh,
So
that's a specialty.
So I go past the shelf and I'm like,
Whoa.
whoa.
Like
and for decent prices. They weren't all marked up. And I'm like, I have to get these.
That's not something you see every day.
Yeah. So I'll I don't know if I can get the photo on here right now, but I'll try to post that later. But yeah, that was quite the haul. So yeah.
What did you grab? Anything notable?
Panzer Dragoon, the first one.
Oh, nice.
Let's see.
Good game.
Over here.
GG.
There was an Iron Man game that came out on the Sega Saturn and PlayStation during that time. And,
Okay.
grab that.
All right.
I think those would probably be the two big ones. Other ones are like a copy of NBA Jam, an NBA specially made for Sega Saturn. A couple of like.
Hey, you, what you gonna do?
So,
It's time to get hype.
Virtua
Nice.
Cop. I already have Virtua Cop Lindy Fitness. I do need the box. So Sega Saturn. Actually, if you're a PlayStation owner, you're probably pretty familiar with this. Sometimes they would come out with these cheap ass cases for games, or sometimes there'd be bundles and it wouldn't have the case, so you just had like this cardboard insert. So I have Nights into Dreams. I have Virtua Cop, Virtua Fighter. I have all those on the Sega Saturn, but I don't have the actual like
Box.
I don't have the boxes I got in the store. So clearly,
Yo.
Yeah.
Here's what you do, Kenny. You know anybody with a 3D printer? You get them to print you a box. You print you get a label printer. You go to the printing shop. You print out the box cover. Bada bing, bada bing. There you go.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same, but it is the closest approximation that you can get while having the physical representation of the item on your shelf and have collection cohesiveness as opposed to putting them in like a Ziploc bag or something.
That's what I have with some of my. That's literally what this bag right here is. It's just a bunch of DS games that I don't have a.
You know, it's funny because like to the viewer, it probably seems like I said that because I knew that was a thing. I did not.
Oh gosh.
Oh man.
We okay. I think for anniversary week, I'll just talk about the collection. I'll try to just nerd. I should be doing that more. I should be posting videos about nerding out on the collection anyway. But that might
There
be
you
a
go.
good time to do that because I'm sure someone would like to hear the intro. My little proclivities on my games, like this little thing drives me nuts, and I'd be like, really, dude, really, that one thing, that one thing out of all the, yeah. But anyway, I'll share. How have you been?
Okay. What am I doing? Played some Resident Evil. We've beaten the first 4 bosses. I won't say anything revealing, but we did it. Yeah, mister, I haven't played since the last time you asked me. But yeah, we did that. It's been having good times. I'm excited to play the game through a second time once I get there, but I'm having a good time playing on stream. Depending on excuse me, my evening schedule, I might play a little bit tonight. So if you're on stream and you wanna jump in for that, the other 3 videos so far that we've played are on my Twitch John. You know what that is. But if you want to come watch, I'll be playing probably after. I won't play for too long. So if you're like, oh man, I'm tired and it's late, blah blah, don't worry about it. Stick around for maybe an hour and some change, and we'll just play some games.
To your point, the video you talked about with the hand, for folks that don't want it spoiled, just I can say this without spoiling it. I immediately thought of this meme with Rey and Luke on Last Jedi when she hands him the lightsaber, and he's like, "So did you find a hand with it? Because there was a hand."
Nice.
So for folks that have seen Steve's stream, you'll know what I'm talking about.
That's funny.
That was insane. All right. Well, it's time to talk State of Nerd Union. This is our Monday show, getting you caught up on the news from the weekend, what's happened today, getting you ready for the week. And we start...
Monday.
We always start with our quick hits. So for fans of the upcoming Loki series, we have the official slogan for the I was going to say the company, but for the agency, for the Time Variance Agency. So if you're not aware, Loki's serving a sentence, effectively. After he takes the Tesseract in Endgame, he gets caught by the TVA, and they're going to use him to help correct problems that likely the Avengers caused from their Endgame shenanigans, and also whatever he's caused by bouncing around places where he shouldn't have, by the timeline, have been at. And the official slogan for the agency is for all time, always. Yeah, that quite infinite there, I suppose, Marvel. Yes. Cheeky.
I like the one from Rick and Morty. Don't fuck with time.
I will mess with that.
But I feel like they were like, oh, we can't pick that one, but it's so good. And they're like, we'll come up with something else. Other quick hits, Jeopardy pays respects to the late champion Braden Smith. Smith, who qualified for the Tournament of Champions with his performance in January, passed away at 24 before he was able to return. His appearances were among the final Jeopardy hosts, the final Jeopardy episodes hosted by Alex Trebek, who nicknamed him Billy Buzzsaw. Smith's winning streak was hailed by fans as a final gift to the longtime Jeopardy MC.
Yeah, so it's really something else. The article, the EW article I talked about was that apparently the last couple of Tournament of Champions have always lost someone. But some of that can also be accounted to age. Some of the champions get what cool thing is there is a variety of ages, but sometimes that also means you've got some older contestants on there. So yeah, so definitely shout out to his family, but good that they could recognize their competitors that way. Next up, if you were watching SNL this past weekend, there was a little bit of a malfunction, and Lil Nas X was doing a live performance of "Call Me by Your Name," the Montero song that set the internet ablaze a couple months ago. Went to bend over and do a move on a pole and promptly ripped their pants. But
cue SpongeBob joke. Oh no! It's like, what is it, son? What do you need? I need a tailor. Oh man.
But he was able to quickly recover and play off of that into the performance, and the rest of the night went off without a hitch. So,
Nice.
of wardrobe malfunctions we've had in American history, that's got to be funny, but not necessarily one of the worst ones we've ever had.
Yep. It ranks among them.
Mm-hmm. What do we have next?
We got our segmented news for the cinephiles. Air horns, etc., etc. Henry Cavill is reportedly set to star in the Highlander reboot. John Wick director Chad Stahelski?
There you go. Yeah, Stahelski.
Hey, bam, let's go. Is set to helm the reboot and indicators point to Henry Cavill stepping into the lead role, although no confirmation is if this is a straight remake or a continuation of the Highlander series. So we don't know if it's going to be reboot from the start or reboot in the sense of getting more Highlander. I'm going to guess, given how long it's been and how many movies there are, they're probably just going to start over. But personal guess. What do you think, Kenny?
Yeah, I lean towards that. Just a fresh slate.
It's about time.
Because you had, was it 2 theater movies, then direct to DVD or like direct to VHS at that time movies. Then you had the Highlander TV series, and then it just everything else is off the rails sci-fi channel TV Friday night movie nonsense.
Yeah, good descriptor. But yeah, it's been long enough that there are enough people who haven't seen it that it's like essentially like you can. I feel like you'll have a lot of pliability with what artistic licenses you can take. But then again, I feel like we said the same thing about the new Mortal Kombat film. So we'll see how it goes.
Arg. Let's see. What is next? Oh, wow. Thanks, OBS. I tried so hard to not have that happen right in front of our faces. So, Edgar Wright from The World's End, Shaun of the Dead, and Hot Fuzz has a new movie coming out. It's been delayed with COVID quite a bit. A teaser came out this past Saturday as Anna Taylor-Joy hosted SNL. She stars in the movie along with Thomasin McKenzie. What we know of it, what description we have for it is that McKenzie plays Eloise, a fashion student with a sixth sense, who has a penchant for styles of the 1960s. She somehow keeps traveling back in time and meets Taylor-Joy's Sandy, an aspiring singer who happens to be Eloise's idol. And while they're living their dreams, the neon lights of London hide something sinister. What that sinister thing is, I don't know. But the official trailer, will drop tomorrow, and me and Tom will most likely try to break that down on Wednesday.
Nice. It sounds interesting. Like the little clip looks like there's some stuff going on, but honestly, like that's never enough to catch my attention. So we'll see how the trailer goes.
Yeah. I'm not gonna rant on teasers right now, but it just feels like an extra step that's not needed. Like,
well, I guess it's like enough for if you happen to miss the trailer, like you're at least aware that it exists. Like if somebody's like, "Yo, watch this 2-minute trailer," and you're like, "No." Like if you see the teaser and it's like 12 seconds, you're like, "Okay, I'm aware that this exists."
Okay. But you know, so, and I was thinking like for bigger projects it'd make more sense, but you know, like if you're not gonna miss a Star Wars trailer. Like if like Star Wars 10 was going to come out and the trailer dropped tomorrow, you're not missing that. Like you may not know, may have known it came out yesterday, but someone will eventually come across your feed. You know what? So actually, as much as I want to rail on teasers, I might backtrack that a little bit.
As I commence to rail on teasers. Speaking of transitional segues, Money Heist 5 gets a release date for Netflix. New trailer released today, showing the gang's last hurrah. Money Heist features a Spanish cast of bank robbers led by the Professor, played by Alvaro Morte, in a set of increasingly intricate heists.
Yeah. This has been the closest we've had to like a Ocean's 11 on Netflix, and probably I hesitate to call it the most successful Spanish film But it's definitely been the most successful probably in the last five or so years, especially on a streaming platform. So it's got quite the dedicated little fan base. So
Nice. I lost my spot. Which one's next, Kenny? Which one's next?
Book of Boba Fett may be multiple seasons.
Hey.
So just threw up a piece, some set photos, and actually I will enlarge it. Enlarge it for folks real quick, maybe.
Also, brief interjection: Book of Boba Fett sounds like a mnemonic device or something, or like a quick order at Taco Bell. I was like, "Yo, what can I help you?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm getting a Book of Boba Fett." I was like, "Wait, what?"
So
sorry. Continue.
let me get a Book of Boba Fett. And then we got a good comment from A Nice Cup of Tea. House of Paper is a much better title than Money Heist in the original Spanish. I would agree. Most of the Americanized titles for anything are usually or however much we Taryn says that image looks like a drive-thru menu too. It does look like something you get in a like a Taco Bell bag or like a kid's meal, like a Happy Meal.
Yeah.
The things that stand out though, so Book of Boba Fett's booklet, camera angle and stuff like that. There's a little sticker at the bottom. So Buccaneer was the code name for Mandalorian season 2. So the thing that's standing out to people is like, well, we thought Buccaneer was so you're using it for Boba Fett, and you said season 1. So like, if it was just going to be a miniseries, why not just say Buccaneer? Why even put the season 1 on it? So it's not a confirmation that this will in fact be multiple seasons of the Book of Boba Fett, but it's just an interesting. It's
just sus. It's sus.
You didn't have to word it that way. Yeah.
Right on. Well, I'm excited. I mean, I feel like Boba Fett was for no particular reason other than the fact that like he has a jetpack, flamethrowers, and a rocket on his back, was like just made to be, or decidedly like just one of the coolest characters in Star Wars, despite the fact that like functionally he didn't do that much. He got told not to disintegrate people by Darth Vader, and he
totally would have done it.
He totally would have, and he got yeeted into a giant monster. So, but like remarkably, the fans are just like, yo. He's got flamethrowers, he's got fancy guns, he's got rifles, he's got a jetpack, it shoots a missile, and he's got a cool helmet with a thing that flips down. Like that, it's the greatest character ever made. And I'm glad to see him specifically being expound upon more. Because we've gotten tons and tons of stuff about like Mandalorians in general, and from the old novelizations, the basically fan fiction type stuff, from the games and so forth. So it's great to see it come to the screen, and during the age of just baller Star Wars spin-offs. So good. So what a time to be alive.
What a time.
I lost my spot. Here we go. Media mogul John Malone predicts Warner Media Discovery will be the number 3 global streamer.
I think that's probably.
We didn't. I guess that's really it.
I was gonna expand on that. Is that my
bad? Is there?
I probably should have taken that one. I apologize.
It's all good.
So
that's as far as it goes, as far as I'm concerned. Good prediction, my dude. I agree.
It's a really good call for streamers. Like, he's not saying studio, because I think that would be a dubious statement. But for streamers, you got to think Hulu doesn't really exist. And when I tell people that, they're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Yes, does Hulu have a division as far as like a platform and stuff? Yes, but it's not run by Disney and it's not run by NBC or ABC. Like, they all contribute. It was like a profit sharing site to like have their content, and then like the day after content of their stuff. It's what it's turned into now. Obviously has like Hulu originals and stuff like that, but generally it's just not thought of as in the same weight class. Amazon, as much as folks still like watch stuff on Amazon, still not to the same degree as far as the amount of content. They still follow more rentals. So yeah, Warner Brothers was doing really well with HBO Max. I know AT&T and Warner Brothers have had some other missteps, but when it comes to HBO Max, that one actually was doing fairly well. So it's not a. You're right. It's a smart prediction, but it's also not that hard of a prediction either.
Yeah,
It's like yeah.
I can make it as a layperson who didn't have all that background information. Like it made sense to me at this moment. I was like, okay, yeah, I'd follow that.
All right. Now what's up? Where am I at?
Evil.
Evil. All right. Maybe. For fans of the Evil series that originally aired on CBS or CBS All Access, it will officially be picked up on Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus is the continuation of CBS All Access. So it stars Luke Cage's Mike Carter and Westworld's Katja Herbers, along with Ben Shakir, to continue their series investigating supernatural phenomenon like demonic possession and miracles. So very much in a like the new supernatural, but kind of like a nicely diverse team. And I like seeing Mike Coulter getting work again. I liked him in Luke Cage, so I like seeing him still working. So it's good.
Nice. In other news, oh wait, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say this does start to lend credence to what stuff me and Steve have been saying the last couple of weeks. Is that it does seem like, so we talked about NBC last week as far as like shows getting picked up and brought onto Peacock. We're seeing CBS do this on their Paramount Plus. So if they're willing to do this and like shift some shows over, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the things we were calling out last week for NBC if we start to see that happen. This become a popular option. So yeah. All right.
Right on. In other news, fans of the show Psych will be psyched up to this because Psych 3 has been confirmed for Peacock and will focus on Gus's wedding. The EW has confirmed that Peacock has greenlit a third Psych movie called Psych 3, This Is Gus, starring the vets James Roday Rodriguez and Du Hill as the lovable, goofy, quote-unquote psychic detectives, Sean Spencer and Borton Guster. This is basically the series creator is getting one step closer to, quote-unquote, to creating a Fast and Furious style series where things go bonkers and get off the rails. If you've ever seen Psych, things go bonkers and get off the rails. And I have to imagine that this new third film is going to be much the same.
All right. Next.
Alrighty. Ooh, it is. Hold up. What's the?
Time?
I was gonna do like a different sound effect, but I was like, oh wait, the only sound effect I have chambered is air horns, so I guess we're just going with air horns.
We need some like 16-bit sound effects.
16-bit air horns. Make the Mario mushroom grow sound. Do. Game time.
It's like,
there you go.
It's like, what would that sound like? Hey, some more things me and Steve have predicted on, or not predicted on, but reported on recently. Netflix's gaming division.
Yes.
So, actually, I'll make sure I say correctly. So, we previously reported Netflix had interest in a streaming-based game service offering. And now a report published by a website, The Information, has sources saying they've recruited veteran video game industry executives to expand those efforts. Additionally, Polygon, Kotaku, a variety of other websites have also hearing the same rumblings that the Information report gathered. So it sounds like that's, again, we can't confirm these executives have been hired and that a team or division has been fleshed out, but it seems like the groundwork is starting to be laid out for this.
Well, that's reassuring that they learned from, what was it, Stadia's mistake? Google Stadia? Hey, maybe we should hire people who know how to make video games when we want to make video games. Because I'm pretty sure they just hired some like business asshole to be like, yo, you're good at business, make me into a video game conglomerate. And they were like, okay. And they just proceeded to fail and then fail and then fail and then fail. So it's good that Netflix is like, maybe let's start with people who know what they're doing, and let's see how it goes from there.
Nah, I can't do that. That's great.
Yo, Kenny, you take the next one, and I'll take the next two because they are quite involved and wordy.
Involved in wording. What?
That's my middle name.
1 second. Photos for yours. Just want to make sure they are good.
Yep.
All right.
It's all good.
There we go. Skip it up a do.
I
I get to talk about old Zelnick.
Yep.
Old Zelnick. Take-Two CEO thinks the pandemic spending boost will be permanent. Sorry. Thank you, a nice cup of tea. Need some dramatic squirrel in the arsenal.
No, dramatic chipmunk.
Right. Dun, dun.
Yeah. Nice.
I was gonna say we could also get the Kill Bill music.
There you go.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick recently said in an interview with GameIndustry.biz that he believes the additional sales and revenue that the video game industry racked up due to the pandemic represents, quote, a permanent shift, and that it follows Take-Two's year-end earnings report last week, where the publisher cited a and I quote, transformational shift in entertainment consumption that would benefit not only the company but the video game industry as a whole. And then this is also a quote from the report last week. Interactive entertainment is now the #1 entertainment vertical in terms of revenue, and I guess people still don't fully realize that. And a good deal of that growth is driven by people either rediscovering interactive entertainment and its social aspects during the pandemic. And what we found is that while certain trends should be expected to moderate, that shift is permanent. I don't. Where is he getting the permanency from, though?
I mean, I feel like, to be honest, this sounds like something that if I was in his position, I would say that because I want my shareholders' confidence in the company to go up and I want my stock price to go up. It doesn't sound like something that's like even remotely true, but by effort of saying it, like your stocks will go up. So that's what it feels like to me. Like if I was like if I had this information and I'd be like, yo man, I bet if as a CEO, I bet if I say this, I'll just make money like out of nothing. I would totally do it. So that's what this feels like.
Like, I think there are some communities in gaming that are going to benefit from this a lot. So I think if anyone picked up a Switch and really got into, like, say, Animal Crossing, I think if you enjoy that and that's a good pastime for you, I don't think that's going to change. And you might, you might slow down on how much you play. But if that's a community that you've really gotten into, sharing the items across with your friends and things like that, I think you're going to really be still staying at, even as things start to open back up. Yeah, I think that's going to be, I would be interested to see community data on these communities grew. And I know when I'm saying community, I don't just mean video games overall, but like these niches within the communities, these ones blew up because, people are still playing Among Us. Even though it had already been out well before the pandemic started, it got that uptick, and that's got still a very strong base. Whereas Avengers can't even sniff close to it. Hey! had to get a little dig in there.
Nice. You had to do it to him.
So, I don't know. We need more info.
Stupid glasses. I'm trying to put these on without taking off my headphones, and I really should just take off my headphones. Give me 1 sec. I do have insights, and I will actually backtrack on what my previous thought was. I don't know how much of that came through because I have no idea what the distance of my mic is in terms of being able to hear stuff.
We mostly understood it, I think. Don't you think so, audience?
So, as we're talking about it, I can see where some of that is substantiated. You mentioned the Animal Crossing thing. The hard part is I don't know. Like when he says some of those trends should be expected to moderate, I feel like it's going to be a lot of moderation. But you mentioned the Animal Crossing thing. Like there's a lot of people who got into gaming who probably hadn't bought a system in a long time, or who never bought one before. Who bought a Nintendo Switch or a Switch Lite or whatever and bought Animal Crossing and got into it because they had a bunch of time on their hands. Will that result in a long-term convert into gaming as a whole? Similarly, we had what was it? Over the course of like the 48 hours, like maybe 40, maybe 50 hours after the release of Valheim, they had 4 million sales. Like 4 million people had bought the game within the course of a weekend.
Oh my.
And this is, early access game. Not to say every early access game is like that, because I'm biased, but this is early access game, open world, procedurally generated RPG, blah, 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 the et cetera, et cetera. 4 million folks, boom, like that. Suddenly, it's at the top of the Steam charts, competing up with Call of Duty as the highest number of consecutive players for like that short little stint of time. Call of Duty was like pop right back up there, but they came up there. Let me see. You already mentioned Among Us. Yeah. Similar drive there. So it's like I can see that like yes, it's substantial. Like we've seen like a big boom in people playing games. Has that resulted in folks shifting into gaming in like a big way that like you can capitalize on? Because these are kind of, in my opinion, these are the new hotness. Like Valheim, Animal Crossing, what was the other one? Among Us. Like if companies could just create that kind of experience with certainty, every company would be popping off. Every game would be fire, and that ain't the case. Like these are cases where we're capturing lightning in a bottle, and it just so happens that the lightning strikes when there's a whole bunch of people with a fuck ton more free time on their hands. So, I really hesitate to say if that's gonna if this is gonna be a permanent shift. Like, yes, those people have bought a game, but that doesn't mean that they will become gamers. It means that like for a year in 2020, they played a lot of video games, and then they probably are going to go back to whatever hobbies they like to engage with pre-pandemic. Maybe they'll buy a couple of games more frequently here and there, but probably not.
Yeah, and I like a nice cup of tea might have just blown a hole in my Animal Crossing argument, because they were saying he doesn't understand the limiting factors involved in grindy MMO or community games like Animal Crossing that were only negated by pandemic circumstances. And I was like, I didn't. Mm-hmm. That is one piece. So there is the feel of being able to switch, trade things amongst your neighbors, but there's also the time commitment to even get to some of those. Like an MMO. That's like, you had more time to do that during pandemic, but once that's
exactly. Gone, and that's exactly it. Like, I've said it before, and Kenny, you've said it, and Jerry said it before. Like Animal Crossing would not have been as big as it was if it didn't come out like right around the time that things were getting worse with COVID. You had a lot more people who were stuck inside. You had a lot of people who were buying a Switch so they could get that game. And you had a lot of people who were allured to like the slice of lifeness of, part of it is being able to go outside in a virtual context. And you could do that you had a VR helmet like some folks do. But not everybody can make that investment, or not everybody has a PC to run that kind of thing. Animal Crossing is the next closest, is probably the best slice of life game that I could recommend for somebody who's brand new to gaming. It's like you wake up, whatever time it is the time it is in your game, and you can cheat if you want to, but like more or less, like that's what the experience is like. And folks have, and I'm a part of like 2-3 Animal Crossing groups on Facebook. They're very supportive. They're very engaging. You can show off your stuff. Folks love talking about it and sharing stories of like, oh man, I bought it for me and my kids playing it all the time, so I bought them a Switch Lite. Blah blah blah. That's a whole community, and like you mentioned, cup of tea. That's something that was kind of generated by the pandemic, but like folks ain't got that kind of time all the time. You got it now, but are you going to make time for gaming in a permanent context for the foreseeable future? For the folks who kind of got into it to create that boom, I don't think so. That's a bubble, and bubbles pop.
You know what's really not that I think Sony or Xbox really need to release their consoles a year early, but I'm really curious what the landscape would have looked like if both those release holiday 2019, so that you go for your scalper period, right? But at that time, it would have been at normal producing capacity, so you would have still been producing there at 2019 levels, and that wouldn't have had the shortage and the silicon issues that we're having right now, semiconductor problems and stuff like that. So then you get right before the pandemic starting to happen, you getting your after Christmas wave of new consoles and stuff, and people are finally being able to get into that. And then like say Halo Infinite drops, maybe Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart drops, like in March instead of what it's going to do now this year. It's like, so that's almost a year and a half away. And I'm kind of curious, like if more PS5s and Series X's had gotten out, and killer apps had happened in the pandemic, ones that don't require the same level of like, you need to do Destiny 2 raids again, or you need, if it had been something that's like you can very much pick it up and set it down at your leisure, like some Doom Eternals and stuff like that, or if Resident Evil had come out during the pandemic, like how much would that have gotten people into like a healthier like routine of like, yeah, I might play this MMO style, but there's also these other things I'm going to pick up. And granted, I would assume people checked out other stuff during the pandemic, but based on the data we have, we know a lot of people spent time on the games we've like called out in here. So I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't.
That's a really good point. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
sorry.
I was going to say like, yeah, I know we can't play what ifs, but I think that's kind of like a big one. It's like, man, if things had happened just a little bit sooner, what would that have done for folks as far as like getting them to the habit of playing games and stuff like that? I
can say for certain, with absolute certainty, what would have happened if those consoles had come out like a year earlier. Cyberpunk 2077 would have been straight garbage, yo. that game was barely ready to come out when it did. If it came out a year earlier, yo, you might as well just release a 2D platformer instead it was Cyberpunk. Oh man. But yeah, that's a really good point. Like if depending on the nature of games that it came out really, really affected that culture. And honestly, I think to get as many people into gaming as it did, I think Animal Crossing was the exact right game for that. Because it's hyper approachable. It's very easy to understand. It has a alluring factor of, hey, what's that? And it's not like Doom Eternal where you look over and like, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. I can't look at it. It's like the right game for a kid to be playing and a parent to glance over and be like, ooh, that looks cool. Like, hey, that looks like fun. I want to try. So I think it was the right game at the right time. Like I feel like it was just perfectly timed. Like Nintendo. For Nintendo, for all the negativity that came with it for the rest of the world, for Nintendo, like it could not have come out any better than it did.
Because I mean, they just now restocked the Animal Crossing Switch edition, and y'all know I repair stuff, so I'm just now seeing a couple of used Switches show up on marketplaces and stuff, and they're still not lasting long on there. So people are clearly still interested, or they're changing hands. Maybe there's people that had been trying to get one and still hadn't been able to get it. So
according to some of the Animal Crossing groups that I'm in, apparently some folks, a fellow posted on one of the groups that which was real funny. I'll share a little anecdote. Was he bought a Switch for all 4 of his kids, 4 copies of Animal Crossing, and all his kids do is come to his island and ask him for money. So, and it was apparently he had a little bit of a struggle trying to get everybody a Switch. So we kind of had to like get it and then hide it so they all get it at the same time because you can't give it to just one. You know how it goes. real quick, let's peep over to the comments. Can you peep the Facebook ones? I'll start on Twitch. Lindy Fitness says they never would have gotten into Hollow Knight if it wasn't for the pandemic. Fantastic game. Solid choice, Lindy Fitness. Ace Trainer Jerry said that Nintendo can just engineer a new one, being a new Switch. It's just a new console gimmick.
The audacity.
Cup of Tea said it's still not ready. Ace Cup of Tea said they probably wouldn't spend hours terraforming their Animal Crossing once their whole vaccination process is complete, lending credence to the copious amounts of time that kind of came about because of the pandemic. Yeah. Any comments from the Facebook?
No, we are good on Facebook, and I don't see anything on YouTube.
Alrighty, well then let's keep on sliding down. We got some information about Overwatch 2. PvP is going to be pushed into a 5v5 format with a one tank meta. Forced meta is nothing new to Overwatch players, unfortunately. For those who aren't super familiar, quite some time ago, they took the primary model in which you could play, where you could pick any character and have any kind of team composition, into a 2-2-2, where it's 2 tanks, 2 DPS, 2 support style, to kind of basically pigeonhole people into playing a particular meta. Overwatch 2 is moving from a 6v6 style PvP model to a 5v5 PvP model, and reducing the number of tanks down to 1. The new game director, Aaron Keller, who took over for Jeff Kaplan after he stepped away from working on Blizzard and went to, I can't remember where. Was it Naughty Dog? Not sure. That sounds wrong. But anyway, Jeff Kaplan stepped away. Aaron Keller jumped in. He said, "We feel like this is the next step in the way that Overwatch ought to be played." He goes on to say, "Tanks can be problematic. A DPS hero is simple. They're shooting. But a tank has ability that can be noisy," quote unquote. I don't know what that means. "Or when stacked with other tanks can cause problems, other problems for teams to try and overcome and counter." I agree. I really like that as somebody who mains tanks and also flex plays. But I don't play anymore.
Not anymore. What?
I have philosophical problems with supporting Blizzard.
I almost forgot. That's how they get me.
But this way, a player, quote unquote, has the opportunity to have a larger individual impact on their own team, which I don't necessarily disagree with. There's some changes to tanks that make them to make them more aggressive in Overwatch 2. There's some abilities that they've added with Winston for like a mid-range, like multi-hit attack, which seems the same as the lightning attack, as well as Zarya, like where she can bubble 2 entities at once, either double bubble herself or bubble herself and an ally at the same time, that make them more hybridy. So by having the number of tanks be forced nerf, they're increasing the flexibility of tanks as a whole, which sounds interesting. Personally, one of the things that I really enjoyed about playing Overwatch was the flexibility in how you could play, and that there were new and interesting combinations. Yes, it was annoying when I would get into a game and there were 4 people playing DPS, I'm a tank, and we have 1 support. You're not really poised to win. You could do it if everybody's good, but they ain't. However, like making things work, like triple tank meta, or triple support, or different kinds of combinations like that, was one of the things that made the game really fun and engaging for me back in the day. Those were the good old days. Any comments from you, Kenny?
No, because one, my memory of team dynamics in Overwatch was shoddy to begin with. So I felt like I was getting a primer there at the same time as you were giving me updates on the changes. So yeah, I
used to play not really competitively. Like I wasn't that good, but I was like I climbed up to like high gold, which isn't like a big accomplishment, but for me it was because I'm garbage. So but it was fun while I played it. But moving on into some more serious business, Ubisoft says it's addressing their workplace harassment, but some folks aren't buying it. So last year, Ubisoft had multiple allegations of physical assault and sexual harassment. Serge Haschet, the main man at Ubisoft, who gave the go, no-go on projects. Like, he was that big. Like, if he said no, it wasn't happening. If he said yes, it was. was at the center of multiple allegations around being abuse and abating abusers, resigned last year when these allegations came about, as did the vice president of the company, Maxim, I think that's Maxim Beland. The current CEO and co-founder of Ubisoft, Yves Guillemot, temporarily stepped up at that time as the chief creative officer and promised quote-unquote profound changes at the company. However, in a recent report from French paper La Telegram, points to some information that employees don't feel that Ubisoft has made any fundamental changes since the incident last summer. Fans have shared the report from La Telegram and have rallied behind the banner, Hold Ubisoft Accountable. And as a response, Yves Guillemot, as well as Ubisoft, has responded indirectly to that report, and pointed to a number of organizational changes that they've made, which include multiple new methods for employees to anonymously report misconduct, anti-harassment training, workplace culture assessments, quote unquote, a cleaner and more comprehensive and more actionable code of conduct, as well as some leadership changes, including some promotions within into roles regarding workplace culture, and hiring two of the ex-Uber HR members, Anka Grant and Rashi Shika, who both helped with the major sexual harassment case that Uber faced I want to say that was 2018, if memory serves, about creating a super hostile work environment, which punished people who spoke out, and also discouraged speaking out in general. Both of those members helped Uber settle with their employees for something in the neighborhood of $4.4 million. Employees of Ubisoft, so that's that. Employees of Ubisoft told the Telegram that they don't expect much of anything from these new appointments. Folks who have been in corporate settings know that when these kinds of things tend to happen and they try to make these big changes, like workplace culture isn't something that you change by simply having information. Like there is
this PowerPoint presentation. This is gonna
precisely. Yeah. Imagine that you're somebody who reports on, let's say, reports on negative happenings within sports media, and you have some super like ground-shaking information that like nobody should watch football anymore. There's a big cultural inertia, and I use the word inertia as the operative word, of people who want to watch football, of people who support football, for whom football means a heck of a lot. And, throwing one rock at it isn't going to change that inertia. Similarly, hiring people to come in and do knowledge and like transfers and information about workplace conduct and how you should behave and anti-sexual harassment stuff is all well and good and things that need to be done, but that's not going to change the problem, definitely not within the context of a year. The problem is the culture. Part of that is going to be the people. So if you're not like, yes, it's one thing for executives and heads to step down and so forth, but if those people can help propagate the culture, but they aren't the whole culture. The culture is comprised of everybody who's there and participating in the system. And until you take out the problem people, they're going to keep, making the problem worse. So it's not something that's going to just be like, oh, cool, we did the workshop. Like we're done. Culture's fixed. Yeah. But yeah, so employees told La Telegram that they don't really expect anything much from these new appointments, and that things on the Canadian side of the business are still more or less exactly the same. So a gaming workers union, Solidaires Informatique Jeux Vidéo, which is my best attempt at saying that, so apologize if I butchered it, are reported to aiming to bring a collective legal action against Ubisoft to this end. To try and get some justice for those workers who have to exist in this hostile working environment that, not much has changed. It's not to say that through more, shall we say, like creative methods that you can't push for workplace culture faster. or more effectively, but like it's not going to be something that's going to be resolved without properly identifying the problem. And properly identifying the problem means, going through those reports, trying to make people as comfortable as they can to report that stuff with the knowledge that something's going to be done about it. And when something's going to be done about it, like, you need to communicate that like swiftly and efficiently. And that means like quick, heavy-handed action. Maybe that heavy-handed, it has a negative connotation, but the idea,
but swift.
Yeah.
It's like, I think in the year 2021, reporting is probably better than it's ever been, even though the reporting that's available for people is still pretty trash. So that gives you an idea of how bad it was before. But even then, at reporting, people being able to report about this at its best, is there tends to be nothing that happens with it, and that also makes people worried about reporting because it tends to be retaliatory in some manner towards the person pointing out the issues.
Yep. And it's like, and if you want the culture to improve, it can't be that way. Folks have to feel like if I say something, they will make this right. And like if your employees don't feel that way, they're not going to come forward. The culture is not going to shift in the way that you want it to, because you still have these bad actors floating around who aren't being punished. And like to radically change the culture in the way that they want to, what you have to do is you have to identify those problematic people who are the poisoners of the culture, and you have to rip them out swiftly and efficiently. And say like, yo, these are all these people. You have to call them out for what it is, expose the information, not necessarily to the detriment of the people who are affected, but just say like, yo, multiple reports came through that human XYZ was doing this. Like, we investigated it, we found it to be true, and they're gone. Like, this stuff's not going to be tolerated anymore. Like, if we can establish like a pattern of this kind of stuff going on, and there's multiple accounts, because y'all been working together for a real long time. So if you've done it once, and under the previous leadership, you've probably done it a bunch of times. So we'll find out, and you'll be gone. Like, that's the way it's got to be. But they're not doing that. So
yeah,
it's legal action time.
Come on, Ubisoft.
Yep.
Come on, y'all. Yeah, well, we got some more crap. I blanked.
Check the tech.
That's right. Sorry, I ended up reading the wrong.
I got you.
Thank you. All right, it is our Check the Tech segment, and for folks that don't know what NFTs are, and are probably maybe a little frustrated with how they've been operating, NFTs can at least give you a lot. All right, long story short, it can prove authenticity of an item in the digital space, which we have not had ever since the internet came out effectively. So there's a huge benefit of this for artists, and saying like, I can release an album, I can release 10 versions of my album, attach an NFT to each individual one, and sell those how I want, and keep different kind of rights within the NFTs. So we can explain that more in another show. But there's also a lot of hot garbage. Oh, nice cup of tea. Yeah, you're saying they're all garbage. I would like to have a conversation on that, but there's definitely a lot of people that are using it in a pretty garbage way right now. Intellectual theft or copyright infringement. So unfortunately, a system that could be good for artists is kind of being used for a lot of weird nonsense. Case in point, the Charlie Bit My Finger video, which is not as old as the internet, but at least it's as old as the popular years of the internet, when internet really started to come into its teenage years, and really had video. We all had our first AOL mailboxes and AIM IDs.
the golden years.
The golden years. Before we got to this mess. Okay, anyway. So the original creators of the video have sold it off as an NFT And yeah, this is when I get to like one of the weirder spots. So if anyone has an internet connection, you could obviously go and download the video yourself and keep a copy of it if you want to listen to it, or watch it again for the old time's sake. But only the NFT auction winner will have the certificate of authenticity to the original video, which is going to get pulled down from YouTube and like not really handed to them, but they'll get a copy of it for themselves along with that NFT. They'll also have the opportunity to make a parody of the video featuring the now teenage brothers Harry and Charlie, that the website says. So yeah.
What? I'm like trying to understand what this is meant to provide and compare it to how the hell people are trying to use it exactly. Because I feel like the latter doesn't make sense based on the former.
All right, so with a non-fungible token, let's take all the, because a nice cup of tea is right. I'm not even arguing their problems they're bringing up. They're not wrong. So here's the thing. If I make a copy of an MP3 file, regardless of any DRM rights and protections, there's no value to that digital item, except for whatever it was sold for at the place, like in the Apple Store or so on and so forth. Whatever contracts that were negotiated behind that gave you the money to pay for that, so on and so forth. But if I, as an individual artist, effectively attach an NFT with that music file, and I say I'm going to release 1,000 copies of this album, someone might still copy that file, but without the NFT, they won't have any kind of authenticity to that item. Does that make sense? So it creates a scarcity that actually provides value for the person that releases the NFT.
Does anybody who wants to listen to the song or the album, do they care about the value of the file?
Now, if you just want to listen to it, probably not.
Yeah, not.
But for people in that collector's community,
what I'm looking for is like, and so I can turn this into money. How exactly? Because the answer seems to be nobody will care. That you will. This tool was developed as a means as for digital authenticity, for a group of people who don't exist, for which nobody cares.
Well, they do exist because the person that they spent over $600,000 on this Charlie video.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, something Dogecoin.
The only reason
anything has value is because of the value to which we assign it. So, whatever. Never mind.
You get it now?
Yeah. I'm old and I don't understand young people. I get it. Okay.
Taryn says, "Stairs and Disney collector chaos." That's it. That's me in video games right now. Because GameCube games being ridiculous. Taryn also stares in Beanie Babies.
Yep, I was about to say Beanie Babies, and it's like, me over here like, oh wow, it's to anybody who will listen, this copy of Collector's Edition Earthbound is worth $500. Yeah, I get it. Okay. Any other bits about NFTs?
Yeah, we could stop.
And their definite real value to all who are concerned.
Well, there's a lot of toxic dudes on Clubhouse. Let's play talking about NFTs if you want to go.
No, I'm cool. I believe you. Yeah. A nice cup of tea said $69 million for a single NFT of a collage of art. Also nice. Nicholas Rivero over at Quartz contends that Google makes, quote, search worse by making it easier. Let's see where this is going. Quote unquote, there are plenty of benefits to having people manually sift through search results, as Emily Bender, a University of Washington computational linguistics professor, points out in a recent Twitter thread. Human labor introduces human judgment into the process. Oh wait, that read kind of weird. That's separate sentence. Okay. By clicking through underlying documents, the human is in a position to evaluate the trustworthiness of the information there, she wrote. Is this a source that I trust? Can I trace back to where it came from? Is it in a context that's congruent with my query? This process also drives traffic to the websites. It's like Investopedia or Epicurus, which first posted the information. The traffic that generates advertising revenues that fund journalists, bloggers, recipe writers, and the whole universe of content creators who make things people want to see online. In the future, perhaps, Google will be forced to pay these people directly for the right to aggregate their work, as it currently does with news publishers in subcountries. But in the meantime, doing more to keep researchers from leaving the results page will only funnel money away from those independent publishers who generate the trustworthy information that Google and the rest of the web browsing world rely on. That's a fair argument. I agree.
Yeah. So for folks that are a little confused, sometimes when you type in a question into Google, it will give you the answer to it pulled from a article or pulled from a site. And then what do you normally do? Do you click on through to the article, or do you stop because you got your answer? So this is what Emily Bender's arguing for, is that when you do that, though, you're actually hurting sites' ability to generate, and also just to like let people see what that site is saying about that particular piece of information. Because again, in an audio,
there's no context.
Yeah, there's no context, and which is weird is that even Google's audio function, if you do this in audio, they give you the source. Like if they say from such and such.com, it says do boil your water. Like if you're asking how to if you want to make pasta, rice. Like this article from what's it called? Weird Eats or whatever Alton Brand's thing was. I can't. Food Network. This recipe from Alton Brown on Food Network says to heat up a pot of water to da 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 and pour it in. Right. So then, even if you auditorily can't go check it right then, you could go look it up, and most likely your phone's going to have the search result ready for you. But a lot of times, searching on browser or mobile, you're not getting that. It's just giving you the answer. And this is what this is talking about. So we'll definitely include a link to it, because I thought it was shout out to Taryn for bringing that to our attention. But yeah, it's definitely a little problem I had not thought about before. All right, and last but not least, hey, me and Steve are just knocking out continuing news coverage as we wrap our check the tech segment. We talked about the FCC subsidies like a week or two ago that certain households making under, I forget what the exact amount was. I want to say it was $54,000 or less.
I think you're right. I thought in my head I rounded it down to just 50,000, but I think it was 54.
Could sign up for a internet or a broadband internet subsidy to help reduce their cost of the internet they would need to potentially search for jobs, do online interviews, and so on and so forth. Since that program is launched, 1 million people have signed up so far. Something I'm very curious about, though, is I'm wondering how many of these people have never had internet before, or have not been able to afford having internet. So I'm kind of curious how many of these are first time subscribers. How would those demographics break out in that way?
It doesn't mention it in the article, but it does mention that some number of those people already have some sort of kind of plan, or they have some plan that's like going away or some such business. They get into it in a little bit, which you'll probably get into in Psych.
Gotcha. Yeah. So more than 1 million U.S. households have signed up to take part in the temporary $3.2 billion broadband subsidy program created by Congress back in December. Acting FCC Chair Jessica Rosenworcel. Rosenworcel. Yeah,
that's a good name. That's a good name.
That's a good name.
Rolls off the tongue.
They responded to reports that some carriers were not allowing customers of some plans to take part in the subsidy, told reporters the practice was unacceptable and that they need to, quote, knock it off. Said consumers asked to sign up for a more expensive plan to take part should file a complaint with the SEC, and she pledged to follow up with carriers. They may be finding a way to provide service consistent with the letter of the law, but that behavior violates the spirit. So specifically, the subsidy requirements don't have a tier requirement. It doesn't say that you have to get the most basic internet. If it's like $10 more to get the gigabit, and you could afford that along with the subsidy, you're allowed to do that. So this is not making a condemnation on your finances. But some carriers are being prejudiced to folks trying to use a subsidy if they've hit higher plans.
Yep.
And it's like, come on, Comcast. I bet Comcast is doing that. And y'all might say that's slander, but I think the chances are better than a coin flip. Comcast.
Yeah. As somebody who has known numerous people, numerous friends who've worked for Comcast, I have a very negative view of Comcast. Mm-hmm. I'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you, Taryn. Appreciate Taryn has dropped a Quartz article from Romero, and then also the Ars Technica that was talking about the Verizon was being one of the ones to do that. So thank you.
Yeah, they were. Nice Cupcake says, good luck with policing that when most of the providers are used to being a monopoly that can just name their price. Yeah, good point. And they also have low-income housing vouchers in California, but good luck finding a landlord that wants to take them. Also, major problem in California is the bonkdonkulous price of housing, and the numerous people who are being pushed out of their long-term housing situations because you have Silicon Valley folk who make gobs of money who are willing to pay, somewhere in the order of $2,200 a month for effectively a cot in the kitchen. You can't beat that.
Gobs of money.
Yeah.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah, it is a pickle, as a nice cup of tea pointed out.
So
I guess, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'll take these next two real quick because I've got the pages out for them.
Yep. Hit it.
So just a heads up. This is something that me and Tom are going to dive into a bit more on Wednesday. So we're talking about. Actually, my bad. Get my. So we're talking about some issues that happened on the set of Bull over the last couple of seasons with their lead actor Michael Weatherly and ex-star Eliza Dushku, who reported issues of workplace harassment, sexual harassment on the workplace, and the showrunner and a co-star that would be leaving this workplace following an investigation that CBS did on it. So we'll be talking about that a little bit more because Taryn has been diligently pulling together a lot of these stories, and sometimes during a news segment, it can be difficult to weave all of those in. Not saying that they're not important stories, because they definitely are, but sometimes it can be hard to weave that in. So me and Tom are effectively going to do I hate to say it's going to be a harassment recap, but that's effectively what it will be. When we try to get to some of these, we're going to try to cover all the Whedon stuff that's happened as well, and give a timeline break. We've been saying we're going to do that for a while, but we're going to get back into that. But again, so that was Glenn Carden. Come
and
back.
Freddie Rodriguez.
And Freddie Rodriguez that had left the set for Bull. What I couldn't find out is if Michael Weatherly is still going to be on the show, because I haven't seen where he's left. And so Dushku's character was written off of Bull. She was paid $9.5 million after giving her testimony into the investigation. And specifically other things that came up in the investigation, and the reason that Karen left, blanking on it, was that Karen had some issues with Dushku as far as in a professional working environment, but it sounds like they were enabling Weatherly to also get away with the things that were happening on the set. So it sounds like there was almost no accountability for that actor on the set at all. And then, unfortunately, I hate to shake the tree, but if folks that have watched CBS a lot and know NCIS, he's played a character on that show for quite a long time. So it makes me wonder, did this just happen because he got his own show, Bull, or was this something that was happening on the previous CBS set and that just now becomes a problem?
It's probably what's the word how do I want to phrase this? Logic dictates that it's a pattern, and this isn't a one-off, John, and it's been going on for a while, and this is the first big person who's been able to say something about it and it get through.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. And then we got a follow-up on Scott Rudin. We talked about him. I don't know if we did that in Commander Ship Show or not, but we talked about him for a little bit. This is reported by The Root. Producer Andrew Coles claims he was targeted after speaking out about Hollywood gatekeeper Scott Rudin's workplace abuse. And then let's see. So I'm going to just read some things straight from the article to give y'all an idea. On April 7th, Hollywood's table was shaken when Hollywood Reporter published a scathing investigative report on super producer Scott Rudin's longtime workplace abuse of his employees, mostly consisting of lower-level assistants. And this behavior was long known in the industry, often dismissed, even glorified. As THR noted, they previously published a profile of him with a less than damning angle titled "The Most Feared Man in Town." Now, having reported on Harvey Weinstein quite a bit, hearing a title like that, wow, that's not company that you want to be in. That's immediately who it sounded like when I read that. I'm like, yeah, that is almost like an immediate parallel. And let's see. Referring back to the time period, the type of behavior wasn't openly described as abusive, but as a boss move, quote unquote. It was the type of behavior that was encouraged in order to climb the ladder of Hollywood success. But times have changed. An era that is described as a Hollywood reckoning is afoot. Though several of the accusers chose to remain anonymous due to fear of industry blacklisting other forms of retaliation, which further proves that even if the process for making and dismantling this culture, we still have a long ways to go. Manager and producer Andrew Coles, most recently of Queen and Slim, went on record with his alleged experience working with Rudin. At the time of the alleged abuse, Coles was a development executive. And he describes being shocked that thing could happen in the office because they just weren't used to it. Which definitely gets into a lot of people get confused when people talk about the shock of anything that happens in like a private office or things that can happen on a set. And people ask, like, why would you not say anything in that moment when something happens? And I appreciate that they've brought up this language of the shock that happens when something occurs. Wait, it was barking in the house. But yeah, because when something like that happens in a place where you're not that you should be expecting anything to happen, but you're going into work expecting to do your job, produce the movie, do your shoot your scenes, so on and so forth, and then you get accosted or get called in the office and a act as a that harassment or that assault happens. It is shocking, and you can shut down, and that is a consistent theme we read across so many reports. So I'm saying that here again because so many people are just bewildered by it. They're like they say I would do something in that instance. I'm like, you don't actually know that. You really don't know that. And I don't want you to be in a position where you have to find that out like either.
That's the really important part. When everyone handles stressful situations differently, and the only times that you will respond the way that you want to is because that you've practiced handling stress. People talk about like fight or flight reflex. Like really, it's like fight, flight, freeze, or fight, flight, freeze, where something shocking, quote unquote, be per whatever happens to you or around you, and you don't know how to process it because you become hyper stressed out in the moment, and you get into that further back part of your brain, where all your fine motor skills and dexterous processes and what do I do and complex thought is all up here in like your frontal lobe, like all that survival, I gotta get out of here or I gotta fight to the death stuff is back here. And when you get stressed out, most of your brain power goes back here. So when you calm down and you get out of that situation, then you start thinking about, oh wait, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do this? So like, of course, when you're, everything's calm and you're of sound mind and everything is comfortable and you can process stuff, then you're like, oh, of course I would do this thing. But like, that's not the way it goes. And we're all going to respond differently unless we've been unfortunate enough to have to experience those kinds of things on a regular basis, or we've chosen to experience stress in a different environment to allow us to stay, in that dexterous, quote unquote, part of mind that allows you to kind of still dictate what you want to do. The whole school of science based around it, but that's part of what it goes into.
So.
Oh, real quick, I want to hit the comments. Nice cup of tea. Says news. Man is shocked that this could happen in office. But also standing up in the moment is very hard for most people. Practice is key. You got to keep doing it. And I don't know how to say that. Amigala life. Yeah, go with that. Is that how you spell oblongata?
Yeah.
Wow. I have no idea. I've never seen that written. I just know the word. I just know what it is. But yeah. It is practiced. Like being able to manage yourself in a stressful environment is a learned skill. And I want to jump into other stuff, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. We will post a link to the Roots article. But he goes on to talk about his experience of law enforcement because a fake suicide threat was phoned in to the LAPD. And if I have to explain the issues of a black man living in LA having to deal with the LAPD, we'll be here for a while. So that's the retaliation that he faced after coming forward against Scott Rudin, and that's just now coming forward and talking about those stories. So when we were talking before about Ubisoft a second ago and talking about the you need to feel safe being able to report. In his case. I'm surprised he's telling the story. I'm surprised he's telling the story now after an encounter with the police like that. So kudos to him. And I understand what a nice cup of tea is saying, like a man being shocked again. But Hollywood's got some work to do.
Yep, and they always have, unfortunately. But in lighter news, speaking of Hollywood, we got the Eternals trailer that dropped this past week. And it's looking, my single word description of the trailer was neat.
It's like I don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean we're going into phase 4, or is this phase 5? I forget. Whatever. We're going into phase, and so we've got new stuff. We've got tons of new stuff. So you got to go into it with a fresh mind. I don't know a bunch of the Eternals storyline. Isn't one that I've read. But I've learned a lot about it, like via like tangential stuff. So it's like I haven't read the meat and potatoes comics that focuses on the Eternals, but like I know about them because they appear in other stuff and they come up in conversation and all that razzmatazz. So I don't have like any major, let's say like cultural association to the Eternals in the same way that like I do to the Hulk, for example, or like Ninja Turtles. I'm interested to see where this will go and how they'll tie it in. Are they going to bring in? Well, I don't want to mention other stuff that's related to the Eternals for the folks who were in a similar boat where they're not very tied to it, and you want to kind of, I don't want to say fester because that sounds nasty, but you want to fester in the mystery of, ooh, what's this about? Where is it going? I don't know what it is, and you want to hang out there. I don't want to, throw any information at you that you're not aware of to give you any kind of inclination. If you want to kind of sit in that mystery and let stuff unfold. But like in front of you. So I'll leave it at that. But I have some ideas of where I think they might go or what I think they might do, but I'll keep them to myself for now.
Yeah. So we were talking a while back about I don't know if we did it on one of the shows, State or Commander, and we talked about Kevin Feige having a he was like shocked at some of the shots that came out of Eternals because he was like, "What? This isn't CGI? What?"
Practical effects.
It's like, yes, Kevin, you can do that. But as we got the trailer up for folks, I have to admit though, what I see so far, I really like in that sense. Again, I don't know if we've seen. Obviously, we haven't seen we've seen like a very small fraction of the total movie. But just the eye that I see already seems very different.
Yeah, the giant like stone obelisk ship thing, that was real. They did that for real, practical effects, not CGI. But yeah, it's looking interesting. It looks like this is gonna be more of like the establishing film for the Eternals. The Eternals collective, consisting of so many characters that are all being introduced at one time, worries me because we've seen that before. But this isn't DC doing it, so it totally won't be garbage. Which sounded like sarcasm, but I'm actually being honest. Like it probably won't be because it's not them doing it. So I'm interested to see how it goes. There's a lot of stuff to introduce all at one time. But this feels like the stage setting film of like, here are these characters, here's what it's about. The world is in a different state, or at least it moves through states. And you'll kind of get to understand like here they all are, and here's what's going on. So I'm going into it with that understanding, and that's what I'm emotionally and mentally prepared for.
I think they got some explaining to do because they said they're
Probably
gonna try to be back with the world, be involved with the world in the trailer, and part of me is wondering like, okay, were they a little aloof to everything, and then the snap happens. And they're like, "Oh, man, we really should have got involved sooner."
Yo, straight up, real quick, I'm gonna do it. I don't do these often. We're gonna make an anime parallel. I'm gonna bet that the Eternals, because it seems like that's probably the case. I think you're spot on. The Eternals are basically pulling a Supreme Kai moment for those who watch Dragon Ball Z, where if you're familiar with Dragon Ball Z. And familiar with Super, basically like the whole razzmatazz is like the entirety of the Dragon Ball Z universe has something like less than 50 planets that have sentient life on it, and it's just simply because the Supreme Kai is extra bad at his job. And it seems like the Eternals are like, nah, man, we want to take like a completely hands-off approach. And to their credit, that goes super well. Up until Thanos shows up and snaps half of reality out of existence. So I think you're gonna be spot on. And like after that happens, they're like, all right, it's time to get to work.
Mm-hmm. The only other thing that raises a flag for me, you were talking about a lot of people, as in like maybe the quality will be hurt. When I see this many characters, I'm just wondering who's gonna get offed. Like how many people are gonna make it to the end?
That's also true. When you start with a big cast, the way that you can kind of help tone down is who gets squashed. But also like, I'm curious. Well, I know things, and I'm just going to yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Terry says not Gemma Chan.
Hey, Stranger Jerry, said Eternals be like, whoops.
Someone's like,
oh,
where are the Earthlings? It's like, well, I mean, they're still there. Like, but like half of them are gone. He's like, ooh, yeah. See, what had happened was,
I look away for 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes for you, but for us, that was like 2,000 years.
I mean, for real though, like it was kind of like 5 minutes. Like Thanos showed up on Earth, he squashed a bunch of people. Like you had like 45 minutes to like show up to where he was before half the world was gone, or you was dust.
Darren, I'm not disagreeing that Chan is the main character, because I definitely think that's probably what they're leaning. Like Kevin Feige said it, and that's probably what they mean. What I'm saying is, this is too many characters. It just feels like It feels like Rogue One. It feels like
Mm, mm.
any kind of like gang of folks going to do a suicide mission, almost like a Suicide Squad.
If you will. Got him. Oh man.
The other thing, you know what? Steve's right. We got to stop. 'Cause we
Yep.
might
Yep.
run.
I don't want to get into the realm of speculation because I might be right, and I don't want to ruin the mystery. What was it a nice cup of tea? Used the phrase "marinating mystery," and I think that's absolutely perfect. I want to let folks marinate in their mystery because I feel like the thing that ruins a lot of people's enjoyment of a lot of stuff that comes out nowadays is all of the fan theories and speculation and all that stuff. So I'm gonna leave it as it. I'm gonna leave it where it is until we get more information that reveals some stuff, and then I'll start divulging information that you may or may not want to know.
Yeah. Because I immediately was thinking a time period. Like, when does this take place? And I was like, oh, I'm going to stop. Because if I am wrong, I was like, ah. Wait, have you seen like the house? No, not the house version. It's just like, oh man, I should send an email and be like, can we have the rights to play your version of this? This song is so dope.
I'll check it out. Send it to me. Send it to me after. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's really good. And I should make that one of the nerd moments for the of the week. I did not have it for this week, but I will end up putting it on.
Hell yeah!
Oh, there you go, Lenny. Finished trap version of the X-Men theme. That was it was bonkers. It was so good.
That sounds like it could work. I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm. All right, we are at the end of the show.
The end is nay. That would have been better if I had a horse head mask, but I don't have a horse head mask. But pretended I did, and that joke scans way harder than it actually did. Yeah. But yeah,
Lenny Fitness, you did in fact send that to me. Appreciate that. And Ace Trainer Jerry, we miss you. Thank you for following the page of your account.
Jerry.
Wait, is that a new Twitch account?
Nah, that's the same. That's the same Twitch account.
Oh yeah.
He was always Ace Trainer.
I know, but I felt like there was. Okay, I don't know. But okay, maybe my brain is just. Oh, and Terrence got horses. Guys, get your horses out of here, Terrence. Thank you for the new folks following us tonight. A nice cup of tea. It was good having you chime in the chat.
Yeah, welcome.
Appreciate it. All right. And then what's happening?
What's going down on? Oh wait, we were both reading the same thing.
Go ahead.
What's happening on Nerd Reunion this week?
So we have the Watchmen discussion group on Tuesdays. That is our discussion group called The Quorum. You watch new shows every week, not during the Quorum. You watch it on your own time and meet up on Tuesdays and come chat with us. So this week is Watchmen for the HBO series. We're doing episodes 4 through 6 this week. If you don't have access, hit us up on Discord. Discord's also where we talk about it on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central. If you don't have HBO Max and you need access to watch a show, message me on Discord. And I cannot tell you how we're going to do that right now, but just message me on Discord. And I already teased part of what we're going to be talking about on Wednesday night for Commander Ship Show. We'll be talking about For All Mankind Season 1. But we'll also chat a little bit more Eternals trailer. And also, like I teased before, kind of giving a recap of all the sexual assault harassment cases that have happened in Hollywood in the last year or so. Definitely giving like a Joss Whedon breakdown that we have not had, or just giving out the time and attention that it needs for folks. Because there's like a new show that I love called The Nevers. And for folks that are a little apprehensive of watching that, we'll break down the folks that have taken over leadership of that show. And since his departure, hopefully that's going to go in a better direction with him out of that production. All right. What else is coming up, Steve?
All right. We got Red Shirt Rejects hosted by Kyle Nelson and Trevor Law. This week's topic, they'll be covering news on Star Trek's Discovery and the leaked details on Burnham's Ark. They'll be reviewing Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. Country. I was like county, country. I always misread those words. And then we got right. We got Rundown Fridays with Taryn Bell reporting and Command and Ship producing. And we want to give a special thanks to our Patreon supporters. We appreciate your monthly contributions that allow us to do these dank shows, as well as run our other upcoming video series. I want to give a shout out to Doug Schumann, Vici, Shelby Johnson, and Nell Cherry.
Yeah.
Up next, we got our weekly throwback. Kenny, what you got?
I'm ready this time.
Yeet.
So, because I picked up Panzer Dragoon on Sega Saturn, it made me think about the more recent Panzer Dragoon that came out on the Xbox. Panzer Dragoon Orta is a really solid. If you've never played a Panzer Dragoon saga, it's like I want to. It technically it is a rail shooter, so like if you think about Meridian and some other games like that, but not as necessarily frantic or hectic. Think of it more like playing a Star Fox mission, as far as like on rails. Like you still have
That's a good description.
Yeah, you have quite a bit of 3D movement to work in there, and it's not bullet hell, like on the screen per se. And then a key feature, I've been stomping for Xbox backwards compatibility for quite a bit of time. You can play this on your Series X right now. If you have the Xbox disc, you could pop it in right now. So you can also download it on Xbox as well. That also would extend to PC. So obviously, you could ROM or emulate that if you wanted to, but you could probably also pull that off of the Windows Store as well. So it's definitely one of those early, or I guess mid-cycle Xbox exclusives that is really good. I think more people need to talk about it. And it was kind of like a soft reboot for the Panzer saga, but it didn't really kick up the franchise and getting more games out, And at some point, I will talk about Panzer Dragoon Saga, which is the greatest tragedy for modern gamers to not be able to play. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll save that for another show. But that is my throwback.
Right on, Kenny. Good choice. So my throwback is not that old, but it is really good. I don't know what other consoles it's on. I think it's on PS4/5 PSN store. Magica 2. Really fun game. So much fun. A friend of mine who played Magica 1 back in college, I'm pretty sure failed because he played it too much. But the basic premise is it's a multiplayer game of up to 4 players. Essentially, you're a wizard going through multiple stages, 3D environment, real cool world. All the characters speak this like amalgamation of like Finnish, Spanish, Japanese, where they just take words from both of these, from all these languages, and kind of just throw them together, where it's a nonsense language, and they throw in some nonsense words as well, and it's really funny if you actually listen to what the actors are saying and you read the text that they're speaking. It's really interesting. It's like a rail. It's not rails in the sense that like you can only go forward, but it's rails in the sense that like there's a path that you have to go on. I wouldn't really call it an FPS. It's more of like an action game, not quite like I hesitate to call it an arcade style game, but I would say it's more like Gauntlet than a beat 'em up, but where like the focus is on spells and projectiles. The major selling point of Magica is in spell composition. So every spell you cast can be made of 5 components, elementals like fire, ice, water, lightning, etc. Some of those elements can combine together to create like water and cold produce ice as a spell component. You can cast it as a beam. You can make it an AoE area away from you. You can cast it on yourself. So shield spells and like stone spells can make stone armor for you. Fire spells just set you on fire, which is bad if you're not wet. But if you are wet, then it gets rid of water on you. It's a really interesting game that has like a lot of utility in terms of like you can create the spells you want to create. And there's also like some cool spells where it's like, oh, if you do fire, fire, rock, fire, fire, and you cast it as a wave, you shoot like this just trail of rocks that comes out of nowhere. That's called like Dragon's Breath or whatever. And there's tons of like fixed spells like that, like haste or revive or other stuff like that. Real cool game. It's been out for a long, long time, so I'd wager like it's probably not more than $5 or $10 on most platforms. It's on Steam. I know it's probably on Xbox too. I know for a fact it's on PSN Network, but it's a lot of fun. I love like trying to compose like complicated spells off the fly, and when my partner and I would play it, she's like, "Why don't you just hit the button for the complicated spell?" And I'm like, "I want to do it the complicated way because I want to hit all the buttons and do it. It feels cool." Yeah, there is dark magic. You can add death magic or light magic to any spell to make it into a beam. So you can shoot a beam of like life magic and fire, which heals things and sets them on fire, or you can shoot death magic and fire, which causes you to die and be on fire at the same time. It's a lot of fun. And it's really fun to combine different spell components and see like what it does, and you know if an enemy's weak to a certain type and all that stuff. But yeah, real fun. Yeah, it would have been a nice cup of cheese, and it would have been real disappointment if a game named Magica was a brawler. But yeah, highly recommend it. Fun game.
If the FPS comment was for Panzer, it's like in a third person view, so you can see your character riding the dragon, flying
Ride the dragon.
on rails per se.
Down, bump, little down, bump. Yeah, dragon, ride the dragon. Alrighty. Yo, y'all, thanks for joining us here on Nerd Union. It's been real. It's always a blast hopping and bopping with y'all. We're doing all sorts of razzmatazz and crazy Johns and stuff like that. Johns, razzmatazz. But thanks for coming. If you want to come watch me play some Resident Evil, I'm going to hop onto that in just a few minutes, probably 5-10. Kenny, you going to play anything tonight?
Probably not, but I am excited for tomorrow because Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, the remake comes out, and I'll be picking my PS4 copy up, and I'm very excited about that. I swear, if they, I need them to remake the others. I need the Devil Summoner Saga. Don't get me started at Digital Devil Saga. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it next time, and we'll see how it goes. All right, y'all. Take care. Air horns. Bill.
All right. And enjoy your nerd moment of the week.